So, hello everybody. My colleague's name is Mark Treves. He's the deputy head of the Contemporary History Library. I'm the head of the Contemporary History Library at the Vienna University. And as historians and as contemporary historians, we have a lot to deal with media. So we are going to this chart and maybe at the beginning some programmatic information about contemporary history. Contemporary history as a subject is characterized by various methods and sources. On the one hand, the approach is to speak with people and they're still living and to include them into the research. Of course, in these cases with oral history as keyword, we produce a lot of data, a lot of material. And on the other hand, through the emergence of new uses in the 19th century, beginning, let's say, with photography, radio, television, and going on until now to social media, this is all sources for contemporary history. It is therefore not surprising that the Contemporary History Library have an extended we have the small technical problem. There's a frame over my words, and I'll get this away. Just a moment. No. Here it goes. Looking for the mouse device. Okay, it's therefore not surprising that contemporary history libraries have extensive media holdings because these represent sources of research and teaching. And of course, the libraries have to address the question of digitization and making these digital copies available. For us, the starting point was in the year 2015 when an amendment to the copyright law and the possibilities of PHAIDRA made it possible to think about new ways giving media to our customers. But on first hand, I have to thank various persons. For part, they're here in the room from the Vienna University Computer Center. Also from the major part was for us from the law library at the Vienna University. Also the other people from the university library, and also as a very good introductory case, the Department of Romance Studies. And also in order to implement the project, we had to obtain various legal opinions which were crucial to the project. But first I would like to give a brief overview of our audiovisual holdings. As mentioned earlier, audiovisual media is a visual representation of contemporary cultural history and an essential material for contemporary historical research. We're dealing with this topic since the foundation in the years 1960s, and we have here some examples. For instance, we have the Stadtkino, the city cinema video collection. We have collection of radio recordings and constantly expanding collection of DVDs. These examples show also the diversity of different standards of recording media. The City Cinema video collection contains more than 8,000 telecasts on around 2,800 video cassettes. that have been recorded and archived from the public television. The time frame of the recording is from the 1970s to the years 2000, and there are numerous recordings here that the ORF archive, the Austrian broadcast company itself, has no longer in its archive. So initially, Betamax cassettes and later VHS cassettes were used as recording media, while the playback of VHS cassettes is not a problem, or not yet a problem. It is very difficult to get playback devices for Betamax cassettes. A Betamax machine is available at our library, but to a limited extent. This device can also be used to digitize selected Betamax materials. We have a cooperation with the Austrian broadcast company Archive, and we have there a viewing station of the archive of this archive. But as you can imagine, this is an island solution, and therefore not state of the art. For example, to give an example, the archive, the digitized materials that we have in the city cinema collections were digitized by the broadcast company, but now we just can retrieve them through this viewing station, and that's not a state-of-the-art way to do it. Other example, we have the collection of radio recordings. There are more than 6,000 radio programs from the Austrian cultural broadcaster, and in more than 3,000 cassettes of around 20 years, 1980s to the early 2000s. And here also numerous recordings in the archive of the Austrian broadcast company are no longer, they do not have it actually. Because in Austria the systematic archiving of radio recordings started relatively late. So that there are unique items even in this collection. For instance, we have displayed this one recording of Erika Weinziel, our former dean at the Contemporary History Department, and this speech is the only recording that exists to our knowledge. Then you have also a big video library with DVDs and of course other medias, VHAs and so on. And with this with the project the idea was to make this audiovisual collection available online. In the first hand, we limited ourselves to the processing of DVDs, and the digitation of analog media is a resource-intensive process, as you know, that we can not carry out at the moment. But that's more interesting, I think, for you is the legal framework. How could we do this, and when did it started? There was, the most of the media is copyright protected material. There, of course, had to be various legal aspects to take into account, and as stated earlier, the amendment of the Copyright Act was a game changer for us. According to the section 42.7 at the Copyright Act, is generally permitted to make a library backup copy of a medium and make it available I hate this word, available for use instead of the original. However, so this is for us the cliffhanger. As a library, we can do this. We can make a copy, but we are not allowed to if there is a copy protection, we are not allowed to circumvent it. But, of course, we could ask for a non-copy protected version, but, however, it's rather clear whom to address, and also, furthermore, the effort involved would be definitely too high. For this reason, not all media displayed in the media library are available online, and a distinction must be made between simply making a library copy and then making it online, available online. With reference to Section 42G of the Copyright Act, the media may only be made available to a restricted, defined group, so open access is forbidden. Some kind of loaning process must therefore be carried out with the media library. The download of media has to be restricted to a specific user group and limited to a defined period of time. So yeah, what you see is what library doing is lending things for restricted time period for certain users. So, and this act we can do it in the digital world as well. And this is did make it possible that we could start digitizing and giving copies away. As a user, you have to fill out a form, then you will be authorized by our library staff to download the individual media, and for a period of 7 days. In this way, the requirements of the Austrian copyright law are met. So, I will hand over to my colleague.
Once all the legal aspects had been clarified, the actual realization of the project could begin. I will give you an overview of the technical implementation, briefly introduce the Media Center, and show you how the user administration works. The first step was to read in the DVDs. Each DVD had to be read in via a DVD drive using special software. The software checks if the DVD has a copy protection or not. If not, the content can be copied to the computer. The result was an ISO file, a one-to-one image file of the DVD, including the navigation menu and any additional content. This was a time-consuming task. Reading one DVD took between 15 and 30 minutes. There are currently around 1,200 media objects online with a total size of around 5 terabytes. Most of the media are DVDs. A few CD-ROMs and audio CDs were also copied. The copying of the media started before the work in PHAIDRA had even begun. All media that have been included in the Media Library Contemporary History Online so far are also listed in ALMA, the library system of the Vienna University Library. It was close at hand to import metadata from ALMA to PHAIDRA. The first step was to create a mapping. Mapping involves synchronizing data fields from different sources. This enabled us to export the metadata of the DVDs from ALMA to PHAIDRA. As different metadata categories are used in PHAIDRA than in ALMA, the mapping determines which metadata fields in PHAIDRA can be filled with corresponding metadata from ALMA. Once this had been defined, the metadata could be imported from ALMA and the objects were generated. In a second step, the digital media were added to the objects in PHAIDRA. With digital media, I mean the copied DVDs, the ISO files. This was realized with a batch import. All ISO files had to be named according to a specific scheme. In this way, each ISO file could be assigned to the correct object in PHAIDRA. Then it was just a matter of refining the user interface before the media library was ready for use. This is the landing page of the media library, Contemporary History Online. Here the user will find basic information about the media library, how to use it, and how to use the downloaded files. The basic search can be started directly from this page. There's also a link to the declaration of use, which must be sent to the email address given on this page. Here we can see the declaration of use. It must be completed in any case before requesting activation for download. It serves as a legal protection for the library and at the same time informs the user about the legal restrictions on the use of digital content from the media library. As long as you do not order media for download, you can use the media library without restrictions. That is within the university network. And here you can see another screenshot of the user interface of the media library. As you can see, the DVD covers are also displayed and can be downloaded. All DVD booklets are also digitized and can be downloaded as PDF files. This is important for using the media, as the booklet often contains extensive additional information about the media. The small icon, this here, the folder symbol, shows that a digital version of this media is available online. As Markus Stumpf has told before, not all objects in the media library can be used online. You can also restrict the search results to media that can be used online. And to do this, there's on the right side the mid-median option on the right. As you can see, not all parts of the website are available in English yet. This is still a work in progress. And here you can see a detailed view of an object. Metadata about the object can be seen on the left-hand side. As before mentioned, all the metadata you can see here was imported from Alma. So there was no need to enter metadata manually. On the right-hand side, you can see the digital versions of the media. In this case, these are ISO files, exact copies of the DVD. If you click on download, a login screen will open. After entering the login data, that is logging in with a new account, the system checks whether you are authorized to download this object or not. A download is only possible after you have been activated for exactly this object. Now I will show you the media library in PHAIDRA where it can be administrated. Here you can activate users for downloading and edit the objects, including adding DVD covers and additional information, for example. To use the administrative features of the media library, you must log into PHAIDRA with the administrator account for the media library. PHAIDRA is a local version of PHAIDRA that can only be used within the university network. I would now like to show you how to unlock the digital copy of a DVD for a specific user. After logging in, you first search for the DVD. In this case, a search for the signature AV1402 leads to the object you are looking for. However, authorization for the download must be granted for an associated object, the ISO file of the DVD. If you scroll down, you will see the associated object. Here you can see the ISO file on the top, and below it the DVD cover is a PDF file. If I now click on Detail page, the green button, I get a detailed view of the ISO file object. Under Edit Object, you will find the item Authorization. Here it is in German, Berechtigungen. In order to activate an object, that is the ISO file, for the download of a specific user, you have to search for this user by name. After adding the user, this is here, the expiration date must also be edited. And it must be set to 7 days after activation date. At the end of the activation process, the users are informed that they are authorized for the download for a limited period of 7 days. This way, all the legal requirements are met. Using PHAIDRA as a platform, access to the media library is limited to a specific group. That is, all members of the University of Vienna. And the downloading of media is only possible on request for a limited period of time. The downloaded media can be used on any computer. You can either open the ISO files directly or set up a virtual drive and connect the ISO file to it. The same applies to the other audio CD and CD-ROM formats. Use for teaching in Moodle is also possible, but the ISO files must be converted. Detailed instructions on how to process an ISO file for provision in Moodle are currently being prepared and will be published on the Media Library website.
Yeah, as you see, we have a lot of work in progress still to do, and work to do. We are still not finished with the DVD covers. They are constantly being scanned and assigned to the individual object as PDF files. Also we have to add the new DVDs, and as it turned out, when we are doing this, we were so overwhelmed doing this that we almost forgot about the dissemination of our product. So this is like the starting point of the dissemination, and to get our media online library to the public, at least to the Vienna University public. So this is also a process we have to engage more to the knowledge of our online library, that the people know about it. And we realized that we have definitely to train our employees more about it, yeah? Because when we got the forms, then there are still questions from our other colleagues, and so we have to train them more. And of course, we have to optimize our workflow, meaning nobody really wants to fill out a form and wait maybe to the next day that he can or she can access the ISO file. Yeah, that's a big problem because nobody really wants to wait. But it's an legal requirement, and we have to find maybe a technical solution or something for this. But that's really a problem for the people. To wait one day until the access is possible, it's not state of the art anymore. And also we have to think about incorporation of our analog audiovisual medias, and archiving of physical copies. I think that's a very important point, because when you have this in a digitized form, you still need, for the legal process, the archived physical object. But you do not need it in your library. You can give it somewhere where it's archived. And with other libraries having the same DVD, for instance, you just need to store one. So that might be also a good thing about when you think about space, about all the materials you have to store. We are thinking also that it might be useful not only to address what we are doing as a contemporary history library. There are other collections of media at the University of Vienna. For instance, the Romance Studies Library has a big collections, yeah. And other libraries. The physics department has a very huge collection. So maybe we should think a little bit bigger and form a library, a media library of the Vienna University. And also, last but not least, librarians must also advocate for usable copyright laws that fulfills the task of academic libraries. I think that's a very huge question, but we are players in this game and we have to address these problems. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for this interesting talk. And as we have seen in this talk, we are dealing not only with technical issues, we're dealing also with a lot of non-technical issues and also issues about legal aspects, what we are doing, and we all have to consider this. Thank you for this talk. Are there any questions?
Thank you so much for this talk, this very exciting talk, Markus and Mark. And thank you for the insight of your work, for your very interesting work, and also bringing up the topic of hardware. So it's also a problem, I think, sometimes. And also bringing up the topic of the copyright questions, because we had yesterday meeting from our partners, from the PHAIDRA partners, and we also talked about this topic, copyright, and I think it's very, very important to think about. And we're talking about open data, open science, but it's not easy to do open science if you don't have access to the materials, to the data. So thank you very much for this. I think I have no question now.
Any comments or questions? Yes.
Hello. I have a question. You mentioned the mapping beforehand. You said there is a mapping between Almar and PHAIDRA. So I guess you're using the API, some kind of API. My question is more or less, how did you do this mapping? Is it openly available, possibly? Is it a mapping between Mark 21 and the LOM scheme, or what's happening here? Can you kind of define it a little bit more?
Actually, I didn't myself proceed the mapping. I just designed a rough, let's call it script, to define the different metadata categories in Alma and PHAIDRA. As you can see, the left one is PHAIDRA and in the middle is Alma. And a colleague from the cataloging team from the university library, he actually made the technical work. And so I don't have access to the exact mapping as it was used. And I also don't know exactly what tools exactly were used, but I think it's no problem if I can give you the contact of Bernhard Schubert, and you can talk with him in detail, and I think he can better answer this question than me.
Okay, thank you very much.
Welcome.
There was the addressing of the legal consequences of copyright law, and so on. So when you read the folders of PHAIDRA, if you want to present something to the public, to the general public, then usually the copyright issues should have been solved already before. So what I did here right now was that there is still some copyright issues with materials, especially DVDs and so on, so that they can just be viewed like locally, I guess in the University of Vienna network, when I guess right. Eventually locally in some like reading room or whatever. So this tells me, but there is a possibility to put into the PHAIDRA network or into the PHAIDRA repository some legally not that, let's say, officially allowed material for the great public.
Well, you can access the materials in the IP range of the university. Sorry. You can access the materials in the IP range of the university. So that doesn't mean that you have to go, you have to be at the university, you can be at home as well. Yeah.
So it could be working like via VPN, something like that, I could imagine.
But you have to be member of the University of Vienna.
But thank you for that answer, but it tells me that it's possible to put legally, let's say, schwieriges Material into the repository officially too.
The point is also that the copyright law enables libraries to have these materials. They're stated as libraries. So you have to be a librarian and a library. Yeah. That excludes maybe other persons
from looking at it
at the university. But as a librarian, I say, okay, I take this position. I like it. Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah, that librarians do this.
Okay, thank you. And eventually we can have a tiny little exchange afterwards.
So maybe it means enhancing your thoughts. Maybe it means that you have to give the materials to libraries so that it can be accessed.
Okay, thank you very much.
So let me just quick add a comment to this. This was the situation we face at the university is that we have materials which are not for the wider public. And so in this case, we decided also to have a separate installation of PHAIDRA, which is really limited to the networks of the university, so that only the members of the university can enter this. So this was the technical trick what we did. So we have two different PHAIDRAs, and for these the media content is only in the local installation available.
Thank you, Nikos Kentisova from Natural History Museum. But I have a totally different question. You said you also have CD-ROMs. Now, it's interesting, if it's a CD-ROM, let's say for Windows 98 or something like this, how do you solve this problem? Do you have virtual machines that, let's say, like generate an old Windows that it is playable, or how do you do that? Thank you.
Well, as a historian library, you have always to be sort of a technical museum. That's it comes out to this point. It's always this problem, yeah. And if you compete with big players buying old players, for instance, yeah. If in Austria, if you want to buy, there are no new ones, so you have to buy the used ones, yeah. And there's the big archive of the broadcast company, yeah, the museums, and their ridiculous prices for old materials. Yeah.
I wanted to ask a follow-up, just to understand the internal PHAIDRA at the university. The application process, is that separate, or is that for the internal requesting of movie or DVD, do I have to, like, if I'm internally in the university, do I have to apply for that then? Or is that a separate process for the external people? Or is everything just internal? I hope I made sense.
Well, you can access it, yeah, but we cannot give you the rights to download materials.
Okay. So the whole requesting process is internal as well? For the, like...
Yeah, because you have to you have to sign in. It's a sign-in process, and you cannot do it without the sign the sign-in of the University of Vienna.
Okay, yeah, I understand. Thanks.
About CD-ROM, we do exactly this. We set up some virtual machine in Padua, and you find free available Windows 95 or 98 images to run. They're free, and you can run the CD-ROM. And don't ask me if we crack also them, because I will not answer to this question.
So some things will be still secret. Are there any other questions?
I have a question, also an answer, because of the mapping. This was a very specific mapping for this material. Because you cannot generally map ALMA to PHAIDRA metadata, because it's also a question of how the catalogizer was using the rule set. And I have a question. I hadn't had the time to read through the whole form, but basically when you give access to somebody, so he's already copying the material, right?
No, we have to give him the access.
Yeah, but he basically copies the DVD. I mean, he downloads it. And is there like did he sign that he then deletes the copy after the 7 days, or
No,
how is that?
It's like the process if you have an exhibition and get materials, yeah, for an exhibition, audiovisual materials. You have a legal rights brief.
Mm-hmm.
You have the DVD and use it in this exhibition for 7 days. Okay, and there you have the right. Yeah? So we give them also the material. He signs this, has the right to use this for 7 days. If he uses the 8th or someone later, yeah, he has the legal problem.
Okay, yeah. Thanks.
Okay, thank you again for this interesting talk and this very complicated topic, and also interesting that the expectations of the user are addressed with this online service completely another way. We can then informal talk more about these topics or other topics we discussed today at the lunch. So I think the lunch will be ready soon, and we'll have another lunch break, and after this I hope we see you all again. Thank you.